Hi everyone, welcome to the new year and to January 2024. The sun is streaming in through my window and that is lovely, but outside there is snow on the ground and there is more predicted in the next few weeks. So for January, this is going to be the first in a 4-week video series called Sew Cozy. And so today I'm going to give you some tips and tricks for purchasing and then sewing with some different types of cozy knit fabrics. But first, if you're new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Lisa. I am the owner and designer of Pink Hollybush Patterns, which is a line of sewing patterns for children, most of which are designed for knit fabrics, most of which have an option for smocking. But I am an avid sewist for myself and for my adult daughters. So here on my video channel, we talk all things sewing and smocking. For the next 4 weeks, we're not really going to be discussing smocking. We're going to be discussing sewing cozy, and particularly sewing most of the time with cozy knit fabrics, both for adults and for children. So today, as I mentioned, I have tips and tricks for you on sewing with three different types of cozy knit fabrics. Next week, I'm going to have some suggestions for patterns that you might want to use to sew with these fabrics. So if you are not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and then hit that notification bell, because just subscribing does not mean you will be notified when the next video goes live. So if you'd like to know that, hit that subscribe button, or down in the comments below and the description box, you will find the link to my newsletter, which also contains wonderful sewing tips and tricks and a little bit about Pink Hollybush Patterns. So now that we've covered all that, let's delve into discussing these knit fabrics. Check my notes here, and how you go about purchasing them, and then some general tips for sewing with them. So the three types I'm going to cover are French terry, sweatshirt fleece, and sweater knits. All right, let's start with French terry. If you're not familiar with this fabric, it's become very popular in the past couple of years. It has a smooth side on the one side, and then the wrong side is going to have loops. I hope you can see those loops may be very defined, as it is in this piece of French terry, but they're not always that defined. Let me show you this one. Here's that, right? Smooth side. But then you can see, I hope you can see in the video, it's not something that I would describe as loops. It's more of a textured, bumpy pattern, if that makes sense. But this is French terry, and this particular blue one is from Serge Fabrics. The white one I showed you isn't available anymore. It was from Fabric Mart in Pennsylvania. But this is from Serge Fabrics. They keep this in stock all the time. So I will talk about that a little bit more as we go on. So that is our first one. The second one is sweatshirt fleece. I'm sure you're familiar with sweatshirt fleece. But again, smooth on the one side, and then you're going to have that brushed, soft, cozy feeling on the inside. So that's our second fabric. And the third one is our catch-all, and it's a sweater knit. Now, when something's called a sweater knit, that just means that it's got a more of an open weave meant to mimic a hand knit sweater type look. So it's really a catch-all. It's really not defined for you. Here's one that I believe this came from Girl Charlie fabrics that I picked up, okay? And so you can see it's fairly lightweight. It's not something that I would necessarily think I was making a sweater out of, but it is called a sweater knit because it has that more kind of open weave to it. Okay, so all three of these fabrics are going to be jersey knits, which means they're a single knit and they're going to have that curl on the edges. It also means there's going to be a right side and a wrong side to them. Now, in the case of this sweater knit, you might like either side, but the sides are different, okay? So you do have to keep track of which side you're sewing with. Let me add one more complication to it because that's part of knit fabrics. They can be a little bit different. I also have this. This is actually in my shop. This is also a fleece. This is organic hemp fleece. Okay, it's a combination of hemp and cotton. And in this case, the smooth side is meant to be the wrong side and the fuzzy side is meant to be the right side. Of course, you could change that up if you wanted to, because the fleecy, fuzzy brush side is the nice soft side. Okay, so as I mentioned, all three of these types of fabric are going to be jersey knits. That means they're a single knit. There's a right and wrong side, but it can be difficult to purchase these fabrics online. Why? Well, there's two major reasons. The first one is that they all come in drastically different weights. The name of the fabric doesn't tell you the thickness or the weight of it. And the second reason that they can be difficult is, again, that name of the fabric doesn't tell you what type of fiber content they have. They can have very different fiber contents. So they can be cotton, they can have rayon or bamboo, they can have polyester, they can, in my example, have hemp. All of those can be in these three different types of fabric. The name simply tells you the construction process. Okay, a French terry will be a single knit with the loops on one side and a smooth on the other. A fleece will be brushed on the one side and smooth on the other. The sweater knit will have that open construction mimicking a hand knit. It doesn't tell you the weight and it doesn't tell you the fiber content. So my first tip for purchasing these fabrics, especially if you're purchasing them online, is to look for the weight of the fabric and to purchase from a company that's specifically giving you that weight. Now, when I say weight, I don't mean designating that it's lightweight or medium weight. That can be a little helpful, but not necessarily. There's not really a set standard in the industry for what those terms mean. And a medium weight sweatshirt fleece is going to be very different weight from a medium weight cotton knit jersey. So that's a little bit not helpful. Instead, what you want to look for is the GSM or the ounces. So GSM stands for grams per square meter, and the ounces are going to be ounces per square yard. And you can convert back and forth to them. Now with these types of fabrics, my recommendation, a really good place to start, is to look for a 330, around that, GSM, or 10 ounces per square yard. Okay, and this, both the fabrics, the blue one that I showed you, this one, And my green sweatshirt fleece, it fell on the floor, sorry. Here it is. These are both, this is 330 grams per square meter. It came from Emma One Sock. Just a lovely sweatshirt fleece. And this is Serge Fabrics standard 10 ounce, which converts to 330. But they label using the ounces per yard. So this is 10 ounce French terry. And that's a really nice standard weight. These will be great for the patterns I'm gonna recommend in the next video. Now, even with that, I do want to give one caveat. I will tell you, as I'm feeling the fabrics and touching them and thinking about it, a sweatshirt fleece, even that's the same weight as this French terry feels lighter to me and less bulky than the sweatshirt fleece, even though they're the same weight. But it does give me a guidance. Now, to help the hemp fleece that I showed you down here, sorry, it's big. Right? This is 12 ounces and it does feel thicker to me. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, Lisa, I really just need to be able to feel the fabrics. And I get that. I wish I could give us all a wonderful fabric store right next to us. But for most of us, we don't have that. But if you are looking for more help with your knit fabrics, I am going to put a link down below. I do have a course, a book, a video, and a fabric pack, Enjoying the World of Knit Fabrics. It comes with a fabric pack so you can really feel and understand what all the different knit fabrics are, and there's a companion video that walks you through all of that, and I will put the link to that, and check that out if you need some more help with knowing and understanding the different knit fabrics. Okay, let's go on to some tips for sewing with these fabrics. Okay, first of all, you definitely want to use that stretch or ballpoint needle. Don't use a universal one. Get the stretch needle, the stretch and ballpoint. You can use either name for that, and you also can see them called jersey needles depending on the manufacturer, but it will have a round ballpoint that goes in between the fibers and doesn't split the fibers. That will help get you better result. You won't have running in your fabric, and it'll help avoid skip stitches. The second thing you want to do is, if your sewing machine has dual feed, or if you have a walking foot for your sewing machine, really consider using one of those. It will help again with those skip stitches. It will help the fabric not shift as much and go through your machine easier. Consider lightening the tension a little bit and also lengthening your stitch a little bit. All of those are going to help you get a nice result when you sew. Number 3, make sure to pre-wash your fabric. As I mentioned, these fabrics can have different fiber content. If you are using something that has bamboo or rayon, you're going to get some significant shrinkage when you pre-wash and dry it, especially if it's going in the dryer. And the patterns that I'm going to recommend next week, they are all things you just want to throw in the dryer. So we're talking about comfy sweatshirts. You're going to want to throw them in the dryer. So make sure you pre-wash it, get that shrinkage out of the way so you don't have a problem going forward. And if you are purchasing something with that bamboo or rayon, make sure to allow some extra fabric for the shrinkage, because you are going to get it. Which that does bring me to my next recommendation. if you've never sewn with these fabrics before, I really recommend that you pick one that is mostly cotton and stay away from the bamboo and the rayon. Bamboo and rayon is going to give the fabric a little bit more drape. That is the advantage of it, and I realize people like that, but it also does make it a little bit more difficult to sew the first time you're sewing with them. Having that greater cotton content will make your experience just a lot easier. This is also a great fabric, especially the French terry or the fleece. If you haven't sewn with knits, this is really a great fabric to start with, because even though they can have as much stretch as some of the lighter weight knits, this French terry, for example, supposedly has 50% stretch. I'm not sure I completely believe it. But that thickness just makes it a little bit more stable. And so you're not fighting as much with the fabric. And so it just is, I find, a great place to start with knit fabrics. Okay, let me see. I think I've covered all my tips to get started with. I hope I see you next week. I will be back, as I mentioned, with some great pattern recommendations and some tips for sewing those patterns, because they are all patterns that I sewed in the last couple weeks. I made a lot of cozy knits for Christmas gifts. So thank you for joining me. Again, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification button. And I will see you next week as we talk about sewing cozy. Happy sewing.